Shell, HE, charge, 6, use, click, base deflection, left, 3, 2, battery, 6 rounds, quadrant, 300, battery, fire!
Check charge, sir.
Set. Ready. Cease fire. CSMO. Battery commanders report to battalion.
We were expecting it any time. That well-known CSMO. We'd been in position 5, 10, maybe more days, taking it out on something hypothetical, or something very real. Anyway, it didn't matter anymore. This was an order to move. That's the way it is. We're field artillery, and our job is to be where our combat teams are. Anywhere, anytime. So we called for our jeeps to take us back to the battalion CP to see what was what, when, where, and how. On the way, we wondered if the men knew what to do to keep the stuff rolling. Did they have the training and the savvy it takes to deliver the guns on time, in full force? Could they tackle a problem and lick it first off 5 by 5? That's what made us think. Not that it was any one man's job. The rest of the boys like to have a hand in what goes on, too. So that made 3 of us. George Battery, Howe Battery, and Item Battery, backing up the infantry this particular time. George Battery, that was me, was to load in ducks, proceed to beach Blue 1, and board a beached LSM at 1600. Howe Battery, that was Anderson's battery, was to move out with 6 spies, board an LSM at Beach Red 3 at 1630. Jabot, that was Item Battery, was to load in ducks, proceed to Beach Red 3 and board an LSM in the bay at 1645. That's all there was to it, simple, except for one thing, the time. It was already 1421, so we knew what he meant when the CO said, good luck. So there we were, scheduled to move by water to another island or up the coast. It was up to us to prove the artillery was amphibious as well as ambidextrous, indispensable, and a couple of other things. Right away, my battery, George Battery, got on the ball. They hitched the 105s to the 6 spies, the way we'd normally roll them. But George Battery was to load in ducks to proceed to Beach Blue 1. A duck is an amphibious truck, if you didn't know, like this one here. So I called the battery exec and the section chiefs and passed the word along. It's like I said, everybody had to know the score. I pointed out a level space in the battery position with plenty of room to move around in. One that kept the trucks and guns from bunching up and asking for a counter battery calling card from our friends over the hill. Next, the duck drivers got the word. One by one, they horsed their buggies where the section chief said. Up front, the A-frame duck. The A-frame is a simple steel affair fastened in 2 places to the rear end of the duck, held in position by bracing cables. It can be pushed in position about as fast as you can say, battery adjust, shell HE, base deflection left 50. When the duck winch cable was passed over it, it gave us a solid, portable hoist. A bracing stanchion at one side makes it extra tough. At the rear, an adjustable stern stand on a faceplate. You'll see why later. All right. With the A-frame rigged, we hauled the base piece in first, close and at right angles to it till the breech was under the hook. Two legs of a hoisting sling were bent around the axle, one end at each wheel. Up front at the business end, we tossed a clove hitch around the tube. That made a guideline for holding the piece steady when it was lifted. The third leg of the sling was hooked to the drawbar body, like so. Also another guideline. When the sling was secure, it formed a cradle for the gun and fastened to the hook at the end of the A-frame hoisting cable. The gunner and the assistant gunner watched to see that it didn't foul up the sight mount or the range quadrant. The winch on that duck can take a 10,000-pound pull, which is plenty to lift these 105 deals. But just in case, we kept any carefree characters out from under at all times. Now you see why that gizmo at the stern of the duck, to keep those 2 tons of 105 from tipping it down too far. One by one, we backed in the ducks, slow and careful, till the winch at the rear squared away directly under the 105 lunette. The piece fits snug in the cargo space. When the howl was fully in place, the lunette rested over the winch at the rear. So to make it secure, we hooked the winch cable to it, took a strain on it, called it even. Last, we secured the guidelines forward around the tube to the eyes on the sides of the duck body. So that was the base piece loaded and ready to go. Nothing to do but move out of the way to the assembly area, while the rest of the house loaded the same way. According to plan, we were to go aboard a beached LSM. But sometimes our idea of what a beach is don't agree with what the amphibs call the same thing. It's a matter of degree, and some very wet surf lapping at your Adam's apple. So we rigged a cargo tarp over each of the guns. Extra protection against the surf or salt water spray, especially since we knew the cargo deck of an LSM was open to anything, hot, cold, wet, or dry. All this was in addition to routine waterproofing to keep the guns in top shape all the time. To make sure the battery traveled as a functional unit, the exec ordered 3 cloverleafs of ammo loaded in each duck. The ammo section would bring up the rest. One by one, our sections moved in, loaded ammo, rigged their tarps. So far, so good. Everything went smooth. Nothing happened to slow us up. We were right on schedule.